Now, though, it is dead. A rotten carcass of old, rusted and broken engine components which, just a few weeks ago, resulted in the total failure of my 911.
Sort of the day that you've been expecting but dreading at the same time. A pretty significant problem. We're into a cylinder head rebuild with new valves. I would straight away say you're into new pistons. Your conrods are now unserviceable.
And the bad news just kept on coming. A month ago, I had a beautiful 911. Now, I've got several boxes of scrap metal. Looking at my sorry mess spread all over the Bahnsport workshop floor, reality was starting to bite. The fact is, this is a far bigger, far more costly situation than I realised.
What a fine day on planet Earth it is. Welcome everybody to 9wax TV and the most special of days. I think I've done 2 car collection days on the channel now, which is good fun, but nowhere near as exciting as today, because today is recollection day. We're getting Little Irish back. Yes! Da 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 da. There it is. Da 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 da. Buzzing.
Indeed, I was. For 154 days after Little Irish ground to a halt en route Napoleon, with a worried me at the wheel, at last I'd be driving my lovely little Irish green Porsche 911 again. Before that though, let's crack on with Handover and have a quick chat with the man who put this car back together.
He's ready.
Job done. You
Job
must be
done.
Delighted to get this out of the workshop.
No, it's just it's weird. Like all these Porsches, they're just another job at the end of the day. So yeah, like it's no different from a annual service going out the door. No, it's been a journey, but it's gone smoothly.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's the first time now all the parts are gone from like the junked parts. It's the first time I've seen that corner of the workshop floor actually.
Toolboxes are clear, albeit with another engine in bits now. But all the parts have gone well. The build's gone well. No real hiccups along the way, to be honest with you, with the rebuild process. We've done some running in procedures. So we've done an oil and filter change after first start.
Yeah.
That's all good. Obviously a little bit of debris in the filter as expected. You're going to get it from the break-in, excess sealants and bits and pieces. So that's all good. We've put 100 miles on it, on the road.
On the red line.
Yeah. No, gentle miles. They've all been brilliant. No real hiccups at all. We've had to put a new clutch slave cylinder in it. So I did have to re-bleed the clutch pedal just to get the pedal returning fully. But that's not really a hiccup. That's just sort of part of the parcel with doing a slave. But yeah, it's all gone to plan. Done another oil and filter service on it. And it's ready for you to go and finish off the running in procedure, basically.
Excellent.
So yeah, she's back on the road.
I know I need to, there's a bit of seriousness for the rest of this running in procedure.
Yeah.
Can't be, gunning it, bouncing off the rev limiter on the way out. So we're going to do, is it 1,000 miles?
Yeah, so it's sort of there's a twofold sort of process really, or twofold view on it. And I think any engine builder, any engineering shop will tell you that there isn't a exact, this is what you have to do. Hardtech obviously say 100 hours of running in procedure, which equates to sort of 2,000-ish miles. That mileage, basically you want to be avoiding short stop-start journeys. You want to be avoiding flat-out driving. Don't go and take it on a track. Don't go bouncing off the rev limiter. You can encourage a little bit of sort of spirited driving, so don't be frightened to load up the engine a little bit. But you certainly don't want to be fourth gear, full throttle, pulling up a hill. You don't want full laboured. But you want to encourage a bit of braking, basically, which we've done for the first 100 miles anyway.
So I can do that from the off. It's not, short-changing it.
No, exactly. I mean, it's one of those, you want to obviously be mechanically sympathetic for it. Everything's new, everything's fresh, everything needs bedding in. There's going to be high spots on bits and pieces. you need to be, it's common sense, you need to be sensible with it.
And that will really complete the story, in terms of here.
Exactly, yeah. I think as well, it all comes back to sort of common sense. Yes, it'll be running then, but that doesn't mean that you can go and then hold it on the rev limiter flat out and you've got this indestructible, bomb-proof engine. Yes, it is going to be reliable, but you still need to be sensible with it. Yeah. Let it warm up properly. Don't abuse it. Let it cool down as well if you do take it on track. It's just all common sense things that you would do looking after your own car. Yeah. But yeah, that does literally complete the story, and you are then back in full action and ready to go. You're going to get a little bit of debris still in the oil filter for the next couple of oil filter changes. That is normal. Mm-hmm. It may be a tiny bit glittery. You might get some more sealant or the orange flange sealant in there, and you might look at the filter and panic, and that it's as expected. Okay. So don't panic, you will get that for the next couple of oil changes. Oil consumption, you might get a little bit higher oil consumption as perhaps you're used to. Okay. Obviously you've got heavier honing marks on the liners, so there will be a little bit more oil seepage on that. Again, it's all completely normal. And sort of, you just accept it as it's been built, and yeah, it might drink a little bit more. I know cars that have effectively had identical engine builds. One might use a litre of oil to 3,000 miles. One might use a litre of oil to 10,000 miles. Yeah. There's a few variables there. Also, you will get the occasional puff of smoke on startup. Again, that's normal. You're used to it with flat sixes anyway, but probably a little bit more so versus a factory engine, but it's all just part of the parcel of the process. So don't panic if you see a little puff every now and again. There's
a really lovely addition in the back, another shiny new part.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So every build we do, we just get a little plaque made up. It's got the engine number on it. Just a little nod to us that we've built the engine and sort of breathed over it. So yeah, just a little acknowledgement on there for you that we've just popped in there.
Well, look, thank you. It goes without saying, I'm so chuffed at all your diligence and hard work.
Yeah, no, pleasure.
And time in the workshop as well. It's been a pleasure making coffee for you all. Yeah, thank you, Scott.
No, pleasure.
Nice one.
All that was left was to go get the keys from Scott, jump in the 911 I last saw being loaded into a flatbed in the south of France pretty much 5 months to the day earlier, and get those wheels rolling as we add more miles to the continuing story of Little Irish.
What's it like? What's it like? Is it like stepping into an old shoe? It does feel, it feels different. It feels different. But then I look out of that mirror, that for me, that is, I've just had the moment, YouTube, I think. I've just had the moment. Looking out of that mirror and seeing that beautiful Irish green paintwork shimmering in the sun with all of its patina, because this car is caked in it. Seeing that shimmering back in the sunlight and me thinking, yeah, that's my car. That's my car. This is my car. And it's my little box of happiness. It was around about a year ago on this channel I said that, it was when I got the tractive suspension fitted last July, and I said that, this little car is my box of happiness, and I couldn't think of another 911 south of 75k that I would rather have over this. Yeah, I think that's a fact. I stand by what I said all those months ago. There isn't another 911 I'd rather have beneath 75k, and this thing has probably cost me 75k in all the time I would own it. But would I take all of that money away and have 75k to go and buy something in the market today, or would I rather have this? I honestly mean it. I honestly mean it. I would rather have this little Porsche 911 from 1998 with its little 3.4 litre engine and its silly fried egg headlights. The big thing that 996 ownership can be is as painful as it is joyful. there's always something wrong, and the money you put in will never really add up to the value of the car. It's chucking money away, but you know what you're not investing financially, I think you're investing emotionally, and that comes back to what I said a minute ago, where for 75k, is there another 911 I would rather own? And that being an emphatic no. The big question is, am I going to change how I use this car? Is it still going to be a daily driver? Am I still going to push it hard all around Europe? Track days? Well, I'm probably going to retire it from track days because I have a GT3 for that. But in terms of everything else, absolutely I'll be using it exactly as I had. I just hope I won't have to have an engine rebuilt anytime soon. The reality is, I wouldn't be sitting in this car now if it wasn't for the kindness of people within the Driven Not Hidden collective that have chucked a few quid to make this happen. Honestly, the overall bill, and I'll discuss this in another video, the overall bill, when that car broke down in France, the overall bill that I was thinking would cost versus the reality is doubled, basically. Double the cost of what I ever thought it would be. And it goes without saying, I just did not have that money. Do not have that money. I am sitting in this car today thanks to the generosity of people in the Driven Not Hidden collective, and one or two people outside as well. That is so incredible. There's a lot of bad things in the world. We're seeing a lot of examples of the worst side of humankind currently. But this car is a living, roving example of the goodness in people, because people have dipped into their own pocket, is the long and short of it, to get this car back on the road and to smash a grin all over my face again. And that feels incredible. It feels incredibly humbling, and it just feels incredible and restores faith in humanity. So if you're one of those people, I am so thankful and so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's get on with driving.